Hello. How we doing? It's good to be back. Took last week off. Um, and thank you guys for I know I'd like announced I like told everyone a little late. So, sorry about that, but I appreciate everyone understanding. Sometimes you just need to recharge. Um, Welcome to Meditation Breaks. This channel is all about learning meditation. Um, and here on this channel, I am the instructor, uh, the only one. Um, my name's Keith, if you're new. And what we do here is look at this practice of meditation in terms of how we can incorporate it into our daily life. And I think that's really important. And, modern life is very fast paced. We don't have a lot of time, perceived time. And so adding things into our already jam-packed schedule can seem pretty daunting. And so the approach that I like to take here is to look at meditation in terms of themes, topics, right? Because as we learn this practice, we'll start to see that it can be used in many facets of our life and presents in many facets of our life. And recognizing those is a form of practicing meditation itself. Okay, so that's all well and good. Maybe you are here for the first time, you've never meditated before, and you're like, okay, how about the topic of what is meditation? Great news. Great news for you. Maybe not great news for everyone else who's been here last 4 years, hearing me say the same things over and over again. It's part of the gig. We're going to start with an introduction to meditation. So if you've never meditated before, don't worry, you're in a good spot. We'll talk about, what does that word mean? How do you do it? Why bother doing this? All those questions that we may have, right? Hey, Gaelica. Hey, Olinda. So if that's you, you're in good hands. And after that, we will do a little very short meditation together, breathing meditation to kind of get everyone situated. This is kind of how meditation works. And then we'll talk about our topic for today. And boy, I hope I have enough time. Okay, so let's get started. And if you do have any questions or anything pops up that you want to let me know or comment on, you can just use the chat feature. It's the best way to get my attention. I try to glance there regularly. And if you don't want to do that, no big deal. I'll give everyone my email towards the end of today's session, and you can email me. All right, so here we are. 2026. So I shouldn't have said that, because if this video is viewed in 2027, that's going to seem weird. The year of 2026. What is meditation? What does that word mean? You go look it up. Old Webster's dictionary and probably the definition there. But we probably don't need to. Because even if you've never meditated, you got an image of what meditation is, right? Your mind is thinking of someone sitting on the floor, their eyes are closed, maybe their hands are like this, right? If you Google the word meditation, it's the only image that comes up. Pretty wild. And so it's easy to start to associate this exact body orientation, setting, whatever, as meditation necessary for like the actual practice of it. But that's just a seating position. And meditation transcends physical seating position. And that's really good news, because I don't know, sitting down with your legs crossed like that looks hard, doesn't it? I can't do it. So if that image that we have of someone sitting down cross-legged like this is just kind of an example of a seating position that you could do while meditating, then what is meditation? Here on this channel, I like to use the definition. Meditation is a technique that you can make use of to become really familiar with stuff. My professional definition, using the word stuff. So what does that mean? What do you mean getting familiar with stuff? Now, with meditation, we're talking about mental familiarity. It's very mind-based, but we don't go around generally saying, well, I'm familiarizing my mind with how to tie my shoe, right? But that's what happens when we learn how to tie our shoe, right? Or go to the store, or what cabinet the plates are in. Like all of this is this concept of familiarity is a huge part of our life. And we can look at physical familiarity to kind of see a more clear relationship of what does it mean when you're really familiar with something. Like what's the output of that? So let's take tying your shoe. That's the example I use most often because it's fun. You right now, some of you I have met, some of you I have not. And yet I know deep in my soul that each one of you is an incredible shoe tire. You're an expert at this trade, the trade of shoe tying. You can tie your shoes with round laces and flat ones in the dark, probably. I don't know if you get a lot of practice doing that, but I think you could do it. You could probably tie your shoe upside down if you really were in a pickle. The point is that you're really good at tying your shoe. You're really familiar with it. You're familiar with the mechanics, strategy, even of how to make those loop-de-loops and have it be supportive. That was not always the case when you were just born. You did not know what a shoelace was. You did not know what a shoe or a lace was. So putting those together means nothing to you. And then maybe the first time you tried tying your shoe, what happened? Knot. A nice crispy knot that you have to undo. All right. And maybe the second time, knot. And then maybe the third time you kind of get it, and then it's nothing. It's like back to normal. Like, how did that happen? Over the course of repetition, practice, little by little, you, the babe that did not know of shoes nor laces, slowly became proficient in tying your shoe. So much so that now tying your shoe is something that does not require a lot of concentration on your part. It doesn't require a lot of effort. It kind of is second nature to you, right? Like if you had to tie your shoe, like, oh, please do not talk to me. I gotta really focus right now. Like you're like, oh, what were you saying while you're tying your shoe? That's the output of familiarity. The more familiar we are with something, the more readily it shows up in our life, the second nature kind of phraseology. It's kind of flows. It's just there. We know it. And this idea, this concept of familiarity is everywhere, physical and mental. So a lot of people get into meditation to relax, like to have less stress, right? Less mental stress. And when we start meditating, maybe we were feeling relaxed and we're like, oh, well, heck, this is great. Meditation relaxes me. Meditation, this thing, equals me being relaxed. But that is not actually what meditation is doing. Meditation does not have the power to relax you, right? In the sense of like creating relaxation for you. What we're doing with meditation is, in terms of, being more relaxed, is teaching ourselves to become really familiar with relaxed us, relaxed you, right? Relaxed me. That version of you that is relaxed. And while it may, not show up as much as we'd like, it's there. We know it. There's been plenty of times in our life that we have been calm, cool, collective, relaxed, right? We have that ability. We don't have to go find it. We're just practicing becoming really familiar with it, practicing connecting with it. Why? Because if we become really familiar with relaxed us, then what happens? Same as tying your shoe. It starts to just show up. It starts to be our default, second nature. And so meditation is really the practice of choice, choosing what we want our mind to be familiar with, and then practicing those things so that our mind becomes familiar with them. And this is our awesome human gift. We have the ability to do this. It's our superpower. It's really cool that we can train our mind to do stuff. Hello, Mother. I'm glad you're here. That's all well and good, right? But how do we do the thing? How do we meditate? So whenever you start learning meditation, most commonly you will start with breathing meditation. All that is meditation. Wait for it. That's using your breath as the focal point. All meditations have a focal point, sometimes called the object of our meditation. And breathing meditation, the object of our meditation is our own breath. You do not have to use your breath as the object of meditation. Anything can be used as this focal point. Walking, so there's walking meditation. Eating, there's like mindful eating and whatever. Brushing your teeth, amazing, right? You could turn that into meditation. And so this is a really important point to make before we even get started, because we generally think of meditation as confined to a very specific body orientation. My eyes are closed, I'm doing this, and that's just not, that's not necessarily true, right? Oh, okay. This is great. I'm getting lots of points with Mom. So here we are. We're going to learn meditation, and we're going to learn breathing meditation. Breathing meditation, all meditation, basically boils down. I never know if it's down or up to three steps, right? And each of these steps contributes to something called single-pointed concentration, which is exactly what it sounds like. Focusing on one thing. We're not multitasking. We are very familiar with multitasking. Our mind can do that quite easily. I'm now talking with my hands while it's not just because I'm a Long Island Italian, but I'm talking with my hands while I'm actually speaking, right? I'm doing two things. So our mind is very good at multitasking. Our mind is good at multitasking because it's had a lot of practice doing so. Society, tells us that's the way to do it. And so we have a lot of practice. Our mind doesn't have as much practice focusing on one thing, but that's what we're going to do here with regards to breathing meditation. Single-pointedly concentrate on your own breath to the best of your ability. That's our goal. And so step one is that we choose to do this. We kind of make a little promise to ourselves. For the next couple of minutes, I am going to focus single-pointedly on my own breath to the best of my ability. And that's it. Just setting a little intention, some goalposts that we can, find if we start to drift, right? And as we're meditating, and I'll be leading it, so you don't worry, you won't be on your own. You will find that your mind drifts. Your mind wanders. Your mind thinks. That's what it does. And so when you notice that maybe you're thinking about something you got to do later or something somebody said earlier, right? Whenever you notice you're not exclusively 100% focused on your own breath and that's it. We're just going to be like, not right now to those thoughts. That's our little saying here, not right now. Those thoughts are not bad. They're not intrusive. They're not unwanted. They're not ruining our meditation. They're not doing anything. They're just thoughts. Just not now. And after we not now those thoughts, we're going to actively bring our attention back to breathing. And that's it. Step 1, choose to focus single pointedly on your own breath. Step 2, notice when your attention is drifting. Step 3, bringing your attention back. That's it. There's no barometer of success here. This practice of this little loop is meditation, right? So let's give it a shot. You'll notice I'm not sitting on the floor. Maybe you can't tell, but I'm in a chair. You too can be in a chair. You can sit on the floor if that's your thing. If you have a hammock, if you have a hammock, I'm jealous. You want to lay down, had a long day, go for it. It doesn't matter. Just get relatively comfortable in a seat that you would attribute relative comfort to. Okay. And go ahead and close your eyes. This does help with some of the visual tendencies to look around. And I'm going to guide us through about a 5-6 minute breathing meditation. Okay. Whenever you start a meditation, it can be helpful to take some time and check in to actually ask yourself, what's my mind up to right now? What does it feel like to be me right now? Maybe you're feeling energetic, excited, or maybe you're feeling tired after a long day. Maybe you're feeling happy, or maybe a little melancholy. Whatever you notice is perfect. We're not trying to change anything. We're not labeling things as good or bad. We're just noticing. Practicing being aware of your own thoughts on a moment-to-moment basis for the purpose of being able to respond skillfully. That is something called mindfulness. So take a moment and check in. Having checked in, we can now set an intention for this meditation, a little promise to ourselves. Step 1. And that promise, that intention, is simply to focus single-pointedly, exclusively on your own breath to the best of your ability for the next couple of minutes. And that's it. That's your only task right now. All other things, they can wait. For the next couple of moments, it's just you and your breath together. Let that promise, that wish, that intention sit in your mind. With that intention set, we can act on it. You can now turn your full, undivided attention to your own breath, following each breath as you breathe in and out, very gently and very naturally. There's no need to change how you normally breathe here. Whatever comes natural is perfect. In and out, following each breath. As you're doing this, you may notice, often rather quickly, that your mind is starting to jump around a little bit. No longer single pointedly focused on your breath, but kind of splitting time between your breath and maybe something that you have to do after this class ends, or something you have to do tomorrow, this weekend. Whenever you notice that your mind is drifting in this way, we can just say, not right now, to those thoughts. We'll get to them later. Actually imagine yourself picking up those thoughts and placing them beside you. Good little thoughts sitting there, waiting patiently. And with those other thoughts waiting patiently beside you, you can actively turn your full undivided attention back to breathing in and breathing out, very gently and very naturally. Single pointedly focused on each moment of each breath. Every day, you breathe numerous times, an uncountable amount. And of those countless times breathing, few, if any, do we actually focus on what breathing feels like, actually devote our full attention to breathing. What happens if we do? If we focus single pointedly on our own breath on each moment of breathing, what will we find? Every time you breathe in, I want you to imagine that you are watching the air being slowly pulled from the atmosphere. Watching that pocket of air come closer and closer to you until that air enters into your body. Watch as that air moves through your body, settling in your lungs, your chest expanding to make room for this air. Your shoulders rising. This is what breathing in feels like. How wonderful. And what about when you breathe outward? When you exhale, can you feel your shoulders descend? Can you feel your chest contract, gently pushing that air back through your body? Watch as that air moves through your body until it exits. And watch as that air starts to mix back in to the atmosphere, dissipating from sight entirely. This is what breathing out feels like. How wonderful. When we take the time to single-pointedly concentrate on something, to meditate on something, we start to give ourselves the opportunity to notice subtleties about that activity, subtle interests, subtle fascinations, subtle joys. Right now, you're finding some subtle fascinations and joys in something as simple as breathing. If you can find subtle fascination and subtle joy in your own breath, where else in your day might you be able to find it? Breathing in and breathing out. Very gently, very naturally. Keep bringing your attention back to your breath as many times as you need to. This process of choosing to focus single pointedly on your own breath, noticing when your attention drifts, being able to guide your attention back. That is meditation. You are meditating right now. You're training your mind to tap into its natural, peaceful state. You're training your mind to focus on what you want to focus on. And right now, the only thing that you want to focus on is breathing in and breathing out very gently, very naturally. For the last few moments, just take some time to enjoy sitting here. No need to think about too much. Take a little time for yourself. You deserve that. Okay. And whenever you are ready, you can open your eyes. Stab myself with my straw in my drink. Congrats. You did it. That's meditation. 3 steps doesn't mean it's that easy, deceptively difficult 3 steps, perhaps. And if you're new to meditating, or, even if you're not, you may have noticed that you're like, whoa, the heck is my mind doing? Oh, Gail. You guys are so great. It's really amazing that you guys have been here so long. It's so cool. I love it. I love it. So if you're like, whoa, weird, my mind is all over the place, welcome to club. This is what our mind does. It thinks. And this doesn't mean that you're not good at meditating. And that's often what we will kind of tell ourselves, right? We're like, I can't do it. It's not for me. My mind's all over the place. Of course it is, because you never do this. When's the last time you did this? Never. And so it's a practice, just like anything else. It takes time and repetition. It's a slow burn. But we're all equally adept at meditating, right? And so if you take nothing else away from today, most important thing is when you're meditating, you're doing it perfectly. It doesn't matter. Like there's no good, there's no bad meditation. Like you're doing it. The practice is the thing. Cool. That's breathing meditation. And I'm going to move on to our topic for today because I am long-winded and have a lot to get through. So Today, I wanted to talk about a pretty, I think it's a cool topic in meditation, and it's about like kind of analyzing where our negative mind states come from. All right. Shout out to my brother. He was sharing with me a book that he was reading and kind of sparked some ideas. So that's what we're going to talk about. So the way that at least I was taught uses an analogy of a tree. And so I'm going to use that analogy, whether or not, and I hope I remember it correctly. But essentially, a tree has roots which go up into a trunk, then there's branches and leaves, right? That's my very layman's description of tree anatomy. The roots are the root of the whole tree, right? And much like a tree, there are some root negative mind states that we experience just by being a human. And these three kind of interestingly start to branch out into other ones, right? And these three, I'm just gonna say them. Anger is one, and when we think about anger, we're like but like frustration is also a form of this, right? So anger is one. Attachment, we talked about this I think last week or 2 weeks ago. Attachment is the like when you're like, I need blank to blank. I need perfect quiet to meditate. I need this person to be happy, right? That's a kind of very quick rundown of attachment. And then I was taught the third one is this kind of, they use the word ignorance, which I think is kind of loaded in the West, but essentially it's a lack of a curiosity, a lack, like a non-investigation of things. Face value, I guess you could say, right? Right. And you might be like, that's it? There's so many more. What about all these other crappy mind states that I have? Where are those? And this is like the interesting kind of thing about this tree metaphor is all these other negative mind states that we're experiencing kind of dip into each of these roots, right? So as we go up, now there's a trunk of the tree. I know that. I'm not a botanist, but I do know that trees have trunks. And the trunk, we're not going to talk about it for a long period of time because we'll be here for hours. But the trunk is you, essentially, this like concept of self, you. Don't worry about that for now. Not really pertinent for what we're going to be talking about, but just so you know, there's a trunk. So the roots go into the trunk, and that starts to make what? Branches. First kind of large, and then a little bit smaller, right? And then what's on the end of the branches? Leaves, right? So anger, attachment, ignorance are all these roots leading into branches. So what are some branches in this tree? We're going to focus on the root of anger because I think it's the most visceral, easiest to kind of like wrap our head around. So somebody cuts you off on the highway and we're like, what a jerk. We're frustrated with them, right? They shouldn't have done that, right? When we even say that, you shouldn't have done that. Hey, Lucia, how you doing? Frustration is a branch of anger, and this one is, you're probably like, duh, yeah. And a kind of like a holistic definition of anger that I like to use is things should be different than they are. You cut me off and you should not have done that, right? You shouldn't cut me off, but you did. Things should be different than they are, right? What about like something like anxiety, right? Well, why won't this feeling go away, right? It's a form of anger, right? Things should be different than they are. I'm feeling this way and I shouldn't be. I am and I shouldn't be, right? That's a form of frustration. It's a form of anger. It's a branch. Jealousy is another one, right? And like when we think about it, we don't normally think about like anxiety as anger, right? It doesn't like present like that. But when we break it down by definition, we can see that it does have its roots in that root. Jealousy. That should have been me. I should have gotten that promotion, not that person. Right? Things should be different than they are. Sadness. Why did this happen to me? Right? Implication that it shouldn't have. Right? Why did this happen to me and not somebody else? Right? Things should be different than they are. And so we can see how this one kind of root, anger, things should be different than they are, spawns many different branches. And these branches are things that we encounter very regularly in our life, right? And they are not generally very fun. Would you say that sometimes or oftentimes there is a sadness beneath the anger? Well, Lucia, I feel like you do this all the time. You're the perfect segue questions. Because while we're presenting this as, anger leads to whatever, all of these branches come from the roots, not a root, but the roots. And so while some present very heavily in something like anger, like frustration feels like a very next of kin of this root, then other ones, it's a little more nebulous. Right? So Lucia was asking if there's sadness beneath the anger. Now, kind of what this illustration is presenting, and this is just a concept, a way to view it, is that the sadness, actually the anger is beneath the sadness, if that makes sense, like reversed, right? And I think that by looking at some of the other roots, we can see how that might be true. And so for this example, I'm going to use the branch or leaf. Maybe this is a leaf. I think it probably is, of loneliness. Let's call it a leaf. The leaf of loneliness. Good band name. Leaf. It's hard to see how loneliness comes from somebody cutting you off on the highway. Right? So like this is like, as we get further up the tree, it becomes harder to follow. Right. So it's hard to see that connection. Right. And this is because loneliness is a little more nebulous. Right. It prevents very physical, like if we're taking it at face value, not having a lot of friends maybe, or being physically far away from people you care about. But loneliness is a mental state. And the definition of loneliness, at least what I've kind of come up with, is it is a perceived lack of connection. It's the feeling of alienation. The leaf of loneliness. Write that down. The feeling of alienation. And notice I'm saying perceived and feeling, right? Because part of this is we've got to investigate to see if this is actually the case, right? So let's look at this leaf, loneliness, and see how did we get this leaf from the roots and branches, etc. Right? Okay. So we're basically reverse engineering it. Our leaf is loneliness, and for this, let's say this leaf is presenting as the phrase, I don't have any close relationships, right? There's a lot of different forms of loneliness. some more subtle than others. Let's use this one just as an example. So it's this kind of idea, I don't have any close relationships. Okay, so the roots, again, anger, attachment, ignorance. Let's start with anger. Things should be other than they are. That's what anger is, right? How does this relate to I don't have close relationships? Well, it's saying I should have more close relationships than I currently have, right? And that's like a form of frustration that we just talked about, right? I don't have a lot of close relationships, and I should, right? Also, it's unfair that I don't have any close relationships while other people seem to have many. What's that? It's a form of jealousy, really, right? They have this and I don't. I should have this, right? And just so you know, like, this isn't like, oh, like, we're bad people, whatever. Like, this is just our mind. Our mind gets jealous. Our mind gets anxious. Our mind gets sad. Like, this is part of being a human. It's just noticing these things is kind of interesting. Another way that we can kind of look at the root of anger for this idea of loneliness is, will I always feel alone, right? I feel alone. Will I always feel this way? A sadness and anxiety even, right? Will I always feel this way? It's an anxiety of the future, right? In that future, I always will. And so this thing, anger, things should be other than they are, doesn't seem very connected to loneliness, a lack of connection, feeling alienated on the surface. But when we kind of look at it, it very much is connected to those things, right? And it's sort of like our, loneliness comes from feeling alienated, and our alienation comes from anger, or frustration, which comes from anger, et cetera. We're going down the tree. But loneliness manifests in many different ways, and we can also look at some of the other roots to see how loneliness connects to those. Lucia, but it's easy to get angry and jealous. If you let yourself be more vulnerable, wouldn't you say that underneath it's really the feeling of sadness that you're feeling lonely? It is easy to recognize anger and jealousy, which is why I'm using it as an example. We know that feeling. If I'm like, what does it feel like to be angry? You probably might have trouble telling me, but you know, you freaking know, right? You know what it feels like to be jealous. Sadness presents in many different ways, a little more subtle, right? And so, yes, these all are kind of interwoven in a way. But the core reasons that you're feeling sad is because something is not as it should be, right? My best friend moved away. Now I don't have my best friend here. Subtext, they shouldn't have moved away, then we would be together, right? So, like, this is the interesting thing about viewing our negative mind states in this tree form, is the connections that we kind of think are the roots may not always be the roots. Sadness is when you want to feel not take action. Anger is when that feeling turns into wanting to take action. Well, that makes it sound like anger is good, taking action, right? Sadness can be extremely active, by the way. And not taking action is actually an action, in a way. So, kind of confusing, right? So let's like look at a different core root, right? So we talked about anger, and there's a lot of different things going on there. Attachment. I need blank in order to blank. I need blank in order to blank. I need close friends in order to feel connected or to be happy. Sorry, I'm really blurry right now. My camera's all, it'll refocus. What we're saying here is if I had more friends, I don't, but if I had more friends, more close relationships, then I would be happier. That's why I'm sad, right? This is actually a good connection to this, the talk of where is sadness coming from, right? It's not just anger. It's also a form of attachment. I need close friends to be happy, right? If I had more, I would be happier. But we know plenty of people who are extremely popular and extremely unhappy. This is, attachment is a root that can contribute to things. So anger is a root that can contribute to things. And what about ignorance? This is our third kind of one. And this one is a little heady, I will say. A lack of investigation. And what this is getting at is this idea of what I call wisdom. Knowing the way things are versus how they appear to be. It appears that I am alone. In this example of loneliness, I don't have any close relationships. And that is how it appears to me, right? That is why I am experiencing this feeling. That's why I'm reinforcing those feelings. It appears that I am alone. I look around. I don't have close friends here. I don't have there. I feel like I don't. It appears that I am alone. It appears that if I had more close relationships, more friends, then I would be happy. That's how it appears. Is that how things are? Appearances can be deceiving. And this entire exercise is essentially looking at something, loneliness, anger, right? And then going deeper to see, where does all this come from? So we can understand it and start to recognize the connections between these, right? So I want to do a meditation on this. And if you've been coming here, you have definitely done this meditation with me before. It's one of my favorites. And I love it. I think it's really cool. Generally, we do it for gratitude. Now, gratitude is a really interesting connection to loneliness because gratitude is a feeling of connection, a recognition of the importance of somebody or something, connection to that thing. And so, like, in a way, the practice of gratitude is like almost like an antidote to kind of loneliness. And this is a really interesting way to think about loneliness and like how we might want to practice meditating to work on that or whatnot, right? So just to recap, and dude, awesome discussions. The fact that there is discussion about this means that this is important, right? Like, and thinking like, well, does sadness come from anger? Does anger come from sadness? Like, what, like that? Guess what that is? Investigation. It's combating ignorance, essentially, right? Ignorance is a lack of investigation, a lack of curiosity. So by even thinking, well, is that actually the case? That is a beautiful form of diminishing ignorance, right? Awesome. Okay, so I want to do a meditation, and essentially what we're going to do is look at our day. And it's a generic day. It doesn't have to be your day today. I'm going to be guiding it, and we're going to kind of pay attention to some hidden connections with people that we may not have thought of or, realized we had. And this, in a way, is helping us feel more connected to those around us, which in a way helps us with our loneliness. Yes, being vulnerable opens the door to deeper understanding. Anger. This is a really good thing. Wow, I love this. Anger is a surface level emotion because it's a reaction, but not an internal understanding. So yes, anger it is a core root, but it manifests extremely physically, right? Like when you are angry, it's extremely apparent that you're angry. But all of the things that qualify as anger are not always apparent, right? If I have anxiety about social situations, normally we might not consider that to be a branch of anger. But what are we talking about when we let's say I have a party to go to and I don't want to because I don't want to go because I'm worried I'll say something dumb and then people will laugh at me. Why do I have to go to this thing? Why do I have to go to this thing? I shouldn't. Things should be different than they are. So when we think about the word anger, it's loaded with our kind of notional definition of it. But if we remove that word and just think things should be different than they are, that's the root. Maybe that helps understand how it blooms. Things should be different than they are, right? Words, labels, they're hard to they're important, but they fixate. But really, that's what we're saying here is that this feeling of anger is things should be different than they are. Okay. Running out of time. Let's do our meditation. Okay. Go ahead and close your eyes and enjoy. This morning, you woke up. Presumably, you woke up in a bed in your apartment or home. Who built this home or this apartment? Other people. This place that you find respite in day out. A gift from other people. You are connected to them in a way. And how did these people build this apartment or home? They used tools, machinery. These tools, these machines, they were made by other people. Not necessarily the same people that built your house. And so there's a connection to them as well. Those tools, those machines, they were fabricated using materials, resources, materials gathered, refined by others, so that the machines could be made, so that the builders could build your home or apartment that you find respite in. When we think about home, my home, but it's not just us. There was a deep connection with countless individuals. You woke up in a bed, very comfortable, with a pillow, fluffy sheets. Those two made by other people. The tools needed to make them by other people still. Perhaps you get up and have a little breakfast, maybe a piece of fruit. Who made it possible for you to eat that piece of fruit? Someone planted the seeds, tended to the crops. Someone selected the best fruit, gathered it up, packaged it using packaging created by other people. That packaging then put on a truck, and an individual or individuals drove that truck very far to come to a grocery store near you, a grocery store that is painstakingly organized so that you can go in, know where the produce is, go get your fruit, and go about your day. A single piece of fruit is an example of a connection between you and countless human beings. We may think, yeah, but I paid for the fruit. I paid for my house. I paid for my apartment. Where'd you get the money? Maybe your job. Job that selected you over other people who would love to have that job. You might think, well, I was the best candidate. That's why I got the job. Who taught you the skills that made you the best candidate? Who taught you how to read, how to write, how to dress yourself, present yourself in public? Your parents, mentors, teachers, media. It's not just you. There's a connection. Countless others. If we were to kind of give back everything that other people had a hand in making possible for us, we wouldn't have anything, even our own body, a product of our parents. We are deeply connected to each other. We are interdependent, not independent, interdependent. We need each other. We are connected like cells in the same body. This connection can help generate feelings of gratitude, of appreciation, and it can also help illustrate that we are not alone. We are all here together. For the last few moments, just sit with this. You can think about something that happened in your day today, and maybe think about all the people involved in making that happen. Okay, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Hello, welcome back. Um, Sorry, I'm keeping you late. I apologize. That was a meditation. Like that might not seem like a meditation, but it is, because the only thing that required for something to be a meditation is we're choosing to focus on one thing. And then when we notice we're not, we're like, oh yeah, not right now. Let's focus on this thing. And so here, the thing that we're focusing on is this kind of imagined scenario of a day. And the takeaways of this meditation, contemplation, whatever, is this like feeling of connection, right? And this meditation is a very good illustration of combating really ignorance, right? Because we think that it's our money or our house, right? But it's not just, well, like, it's made possible by other people. It's not that simple, right? And so it appears differently than it actually is, which is the wisdom or the kind of antithesis of this lack of investigation. Cool. Big topic. Could do a million classes on this. Thank you for everyone who commented and like all of these thoughtful comments. It's really important to think about this stuff. And honestly, that's what meditation is. Meditation is curiosity. It is an exploration, investigation, thinking, right? And so everything we talk about here is not, it's not, this is the way or that. It's a prompt to investigate for yourself. And I love that everyone's doing that. That's really beautiful and awesome. Thank you guys. If you had a good time, come on back next week. We'll be doing some other meditation-y stuff. I'm going to put my email in the chat right now. Keith at meditationbreaks.com. Spelled correctly. Email me if you have any questions on any of this, or sparks some idea, or you're meditating and you want to ask a question on that. Or lastly, I do one-on-one instruction, private meditation instruction. If that's interesting to you, email me and we'll find a time to do it. I don't charge for anyone here. It would be free. Just a little way of giving back to all you guys. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the kind words. Lucia, I'm glad you really like today's topic. This is a really, really cool, this is the essence of meditation. Investigating how your mind works, where things come from. All right. Great job. And have a wonderful week, and I'll see you all next time.